Welcome to the class again. I'm just going to reiterate what we did in the last class, that is GDP and welfare. And I think I stopped at what is green GNP. So I want you to just go through this while we do this question about welfare and GDP. So look at this. So the question is, what is GN? What is green? What do you mean by this? What is it? So there has been this concept of green GNP when you're talking about welfare. This has cropped up in this particular place, this chapter. It's known as green GNP. It measures national income, or say the domestic output, which is adjusted for depletion of natural resources and degradation of environment. So once again, we are trying to make everybody aware about the depletion of natural resources and degradation of environment. Everyone should be careful about this. So this is useful for sustainable use of natural environment and equitable distribution of benefits of development. So if you just talk, it's now in that context. It is only when you have an increase in GDP or GNP, increase in green GNP instead of GNP alone, that is an indicator of welfare of people. So green GDP is equal to GDP minus loss of natural capital. So that is very important. So you can get a question as, what are the limitations of real GDP as an indicator of economic welfare? So they are the same points that we did before. That is, we talked about non-monetary exchanges. So what are non-monetary exchanges? Once again, such exchanges, especially in India, we have many such exchanges that are not measured in money terms. That means goods and services, instead of exchanging for money, are directly exchanged against each other. So that is one. And the second is domestic services provided by housewives, also growing of vegetables in kitchen garden, and then also doing your own repairs of your own gadgets and things like that. So with GDP, you do not get a true picture of the productive activity and well-being of a country. So we did it as no dope. So that is non-monetary exchanges. Then D is distribution of income, that is unequal. So regarding this, what we have is that it is like the wealth is concentrated only in a few hands. For the rest of the people, maybe income has really fallen. So the welfare of the entire country cannot be said to have increased. And actually, you know what, today, seeing where we stand with the pandemic, corona or COVID-19, I think we have to rewrite the entire economy or the challenges that the Indian economy faces today in this context. So anyways, this is more or less that we get some idea about what is welfare. So O is what? Composition of output. Now what does a output compose of? So what is that? If it is if we are gaining more from harmful products or from defense goods, what is that? I mean, even if your GDP has shown growth, the welfare hasn't increased in that case. So, and then again, population growth regarding DOP. P is what? If your population growth is greater than your GDP growth, then where do we stand? Where is welfare? Welfare is nowhere to be seen. It goes out. And then externalities, we have what is known as positive and negative externalities. So if we have positive externalities, they bring about more welfare. But the negative externalities brought about by the industrialization is harmful. So having said that, we know that these are the limitations of real GDP as an indicator of economic welfare. This is how you're going to write the answer. Another question that can really come up is that, can real GDP be greater than nominal GDP? Why, yes, of course. Say especially, just take the first point, that is when price level in the current year is lower than that in the base year, basically. So if the current year prices are less than the base year prices, number one. Of course, we can also see that when output of final goods and services in the current year is less than during the base year. So this is how we see. And so this is like a quick recap on, again, GDP and welfare. So with that, we move on to the next class.